Picture a brilliant young man in his room at Oxford, late at night, a pipe in his hand and a stack of books on his desk. He's one of the sharpest minds in England, and he is an atheist, settled, certain. There is no God, there never was, and that's the end of it. But lately, something has been bothering him. The harder he studies, the more evidence refuses to behave. The most hard-boiled atheist he knows has just admitted to him that the historical case for the Gospels is surprisingly strong. And night after night, in that quiet room, this man feels what he can only describe as someone approaching, someone he desperately does not want to meet. Welcome to Lift Up Your Day, short stories with the biblical heartbeat. I'm Rodney Coe, and today, the atheist who fought God with everything he had, and the one question he could not get around. His name was C.S. Lewis, and you may know him as the man who wrote the Chronicles of Narnia. But long before Narnia, Lewis was one of the most committed atheists in Britain. He taught English literature at Oxford. He was clever, widely read, and completely certain that Christianity was a comforting myth for weaker minds. The two things, though, began to crack his certainty. The first was his friends. One of them was a quiet professor by the name of J.R.R. Tolkien, the man who would write The Lord of the Rings. Late one September night, Tolkien and another friend walked with Lewis for hours, talking about myth and truth, and whether the old stories of dying and rising God might be pointing to the one story that actually happened. The second thing was the evidence itself, which kept refusing to fall apart in his hands. So in 1929, Lewis finally gave in to the existence of God. He knelt down in his room and prayed. He described himself afterward as the most dejected and reluctant convert in all of England. Notice that he did not come running. By his own account, he was dragged in, kicking and struggling, darting his eyes in every direction for a chance to escape. But believing in God is not the same as bowing to Christ. That step came 2 years later. On an ordinary morning in 1931, Lewis climbed into the sidecar of his brother's motorcycle for a trip out to the zoo. He said that when they set out, he did not believe that Jesus Christ was the Son of God. And by the time they reached the zoo, he did. No lightning, no sermon, just a man who had finally stopped running. And here's why this matters for you and me. For years, Lewis had tried to keep Jesus at arm's length by filing him under the great moral teacher plan. But he came to see that Jesus never left that option open. A man who says the things Jesus said is not simply a wise teacher. He's either a liar, a lunatic, or he's exactly who he claimed to be, the Lord. That brings us to the most personal question in the Bible. One day Jesus came to his disciples and asked, "But who do you say that I am?" Not who does the crowd say, not who does your grandmother say, who do you say? That is the question everyone needs to answer, because that answer is the answer that'll define your life. C.S. Lewis, the smartest skeptic in the room, finally answered it on his knees. And the man who resisted the faith with everything in him became one of its most beloved defenders in the last 100 years. So let me leave you with the only question that really matters today. Who do you say Jesus is? And that, friend, is how God lifts up your day.